behind Swizzy and Pixie in terms of qualifying already through consistency. They really have not much more to do in these next matches, and honestly, I'm quite impressed.
I'm impressed, but I want to see what they can do in a grand final against Europe's best of the best. 2 more games remain, though, before we find out who makes it. So let's head back to Taco and 11-2K.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Look, the games are not disappointing. They are entertaining, and I feel like it's only going to keep getting better as we see more desperation from some of these teams lower down in the standings. Taco, you're going to have to pull out everything if you want to be playing next weekend.
Without a doubt. I mean, we know that there are only 2 lobbies remaining. Game 4 is where we're really going to see some of these teams having to overcome the amount of pressure that is beginning to be placed on all of their shoulders. If you are not already within that top 10 of the consistency, well, this might be your best shot to get it done, because Game 4 underway. What I'm really waiting to see, though, Levin, is whether or not Tayson and Ghost are going to be able to go on the recovery tour of a lifetime. We saw them finally touch down on Squibbly in the last lobby, albeit it was with a little bit of woes behind it, since there was a third-party intervention kind of tagging away, chipping away at their HP, but we did see them at least make it to the end game. It's just about pushing all the way through. And that's where things start to become rather complicated, because they are not the only team that is looking for that same kind of mentality.
I think the biggest thing that is troubling is that it feels like they're scared. Look at the drops here, right? They don't even want to fight them at the sort of gas station. They're looking to swerve and dodge into the POI, and there's players taking shots at them. And so already starting with an HP disadvantage, thankfully those players will take shots at Xterry as well. And so hopefully they can recover things now. A 49th or 49th and a 19th is not what they were expecting out of today thus far, but we've seen people overcome bigger hurdles with 2 games left. And so it's gonna require an all-time performance from the 2, but definitely talented enough players to make something happen. Zany and Burke, incredibly consistent today. I believe they are 2nd when it comes to consistency standings. And so one of the teams who right now is looking very comfortable when it comes to securing a consistency place for the major finals. And a team that a lot of people are going to have to learn a bit more about, because they definitely have looked better than what maybe people would have given them credit for.
I think it's really just the momentum, too. They've been consistently contested by Iggy and Ein, and yet have come out on top practically every single lobby so far, I want to say. And with that in mind, I mean, it's such a huge catalyst, I think, to a player's confidence. But now, Ghost, just at the perfect timing, managing to close out on a knock there against Adapted. But Tayson just dropped so incredibly low. Both him and Ghost are just not able to really duke it out with the HP, but Ghost does get the siphon, finds the body there, but he had to split away momentarily from Tayson. So now Xterry will also have the opportunity to kind of recuperate his shields too. This is a tough spot to be in. This is Major 1 finals, avoiding last chance qualifier, potentially on the line here right now for Ghost and Tayson. You can see Ghost, he's looking to see if he can find an angle on this shot. Through some of his old builds, but Xterry is not going to make it easy for him. Ghost with the jump overhead and the crushing finish there now out of Xterry, but they've been collapsed on. Teams witnessing what was taking place elsewhere. Zoomer and Fury fully at the winning point.
It didn't matter who came out on top of that. They were bound to fail, with the third party coming through. A disastrous outcome for Tayson and Ghost in particular, who again will be on many people's prediction boards to qualify. They only have 2 games to muster up enough points to maybe squeeze their way into the top 10 most consistent teams. It is going to be a massive mountain to climb. Crete has his own mountain to climb now in a 2v1 here. That doesn't look too favorable.
And the worst part as well for Crete is just knowing that they are so much closer in terms of consistency. 65 points, but V's going to be taken out. Faded and Khan have rolled up to the vicinity now. They're a little bit local, but Faded will be sent the opposite direction off that overdrive. A little bit awkward here, but it's not going to deter them too heavily. They are still looking to chase this one out. They know just how weak Extras actually is, but it's going to be intercepted right now from Clapsy and killed. Faded, Khan. Now they're contending with an entirely new duo here, and one that is healthy enough to definitely push back, so that'll cause them to have a little bit of a second thought for continuing this engagement.
And he's flying towards these guys. Wanted to maybe close things out quickly. Specs and Miruz, we've seen them fighting defensively to some success, and we might see it again here. Swizzy and Pixie, you don't ever want to bite off more than you can chew. Swizzy will do well to keep Pixie up and get him away. Can he create the space to get the revive off? Specs and Miruz not getting too greedy and just backing off a bit, but that might be their demise. Pixie does get taken out, and so now Swizzy forced alone in between two teams. He is truly stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He has to hope that these guys forget about him and just allow the time to pass by. That did not go how I was expecting it to, Taco.
If anything, it might have even indirectly helped Swizzy out a bit with that third-party presence, but Forge and Nagi, they're not going to stick around, and surely Miruz Specs are going to realize this. And they know what kind of contenders those two can be. Checking in though to see what actually happened. Faded and Khan are they're punctual. They're willing to put an end to everything that they start. And the fact of the matter is that's just another 3 elimination points that they can add to the count. Extracito though, alongside Dora, they're looking to go big or go home realistically. These lobby points. Every elimination, every single placement is going to be the difference maker. We saw how much of a nail biter it came down to in yesterday's heats. How so many teams were able to actually overlap and overcome in the final moments there to just squeeze themselves into that top 10 for the consistency side of things. But for Dora and Extracito, it's only Cora that remains. Misha having already been eliminated pretty early on, but Overdrive Grenades just sending them a little bit more scattered here. Or trying to buy some time, but that's going to be the last overdrive. Now it's all about, can you tuck yourself away in the build long enough, just delay. A lot of pizza slices here, at least, but both sides being aggressive. Dora, though, not able to find the closing shots. Fortunately for Dora, Exorcito is right there. Back him up, but a little bit messier than what they would have hoped for.
Yeah, almost gave the 2v1 away.
Just so surprised that Swizzy and Pixie were able to get the successful reboot opportunity, so that is a solid turnaround. O'Reilly and Reason, though, they've done a great job. We touched on it a little bit in the last Lobby 11 in terms of Reason and O'Reilly just looking to play largely for the consistency metrics, and while they are still inside that placement area, it's a little bit too close for comfort. They want to try and see if they can further overcome, see if they can continue to build up on that leaderboard section. And I believe all they really need to do is stay true to their methods, because so far it has worked out relatively well for them. Checking back in though, Mr. Savage and Velo, that solo clutch out of Velo to turn up with the 8th place finish. It was a huge difference maker in their leaderboard standing.
Yeah, I mean, again now, if you're a Savage fan, you're gonna hope that they can really just squeeze as much out of the rest of these games as possible. Time is ticking away.
It's all going to come down to the wire, though. I think that this is really the point where some of these veteran mentalities, you know, help settle some of the nerves here from Velo. He looked relatively cool, calm, and collected in that endgame, despite the fact that he was in such a rough position. So I do think that the chemistry has been built up relatively well in their short time of doing together.
Yeah, look, they've had some impressive cuts, right, where they look like the real deal, a team that can, you know, contend to qualify for the summit. But if you can't make it to the final through heats, LCQ is not going to be any easier.
Vanya and Walks really just trying to establish a little bit of building side control, claiming a lot of space right now, kind of keeping Kaisers and Gonzo at bay too. The main thing now for Kaisers and Gonzo that they're going to have to take into account is it won't be easy to rotate off without Walks and Vanya potentially moving first, because you never want to get pieced up along the way.
Yeah, I feel like for these guys, there's a lot to prove. In the case of Gonzo, especially, but he this looks good so far in 2026. Newer talent emerging onto the scene. Seti and Rax. Much more to be desired if you're a fan of these two. And for Seti to miss the finals would be his first final missed since 2021. Wow. Chapter 2, Season 6. I was my second season on the broadcast back when I was a new up-and-coming analyst next to Resub, eh?
Well, now that you're playing Mr. Worldwide, you know, doing the whole hosting, into the analyst, into the casting, when are we gonna see you back in the playing? You know, you might as well hit the player side of things too. Just go fully on tour.
Trust me, nobody wants to see that, Taco.
I want to see that.
Nobody wants to see that. We'll spare the viewers that sight.
You never want to cut yourself short there, mate. But look, Polish Cat, Petro, Kiruo, Trexer, just so many teams that have had issues. Hey man, I understand lurk plays are everywhere right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, you're gonna go for it if the opportunity is there, and they'll be patient enough to wait. I don't know if this bait is gonna work out for them though. They're trying to bait the mist here, and I feel like it's just not. Like, I feel like Kido and Trexo, even if they came this way, it wouldn't be quite enough. Yeah, they pick it back up. I think they realize it's not happening. The footsteps disappeared. They realize they went in the other way onto the other side of Painted Palms.
This was still a pretty big commitment from this duo.
Ooh, hold on. They're moving in the right direction. Trexo might come to this side. Are they gonna get it? Oh, I hate watching these sometimes. I just, it's the anticipation. Go on.
Hey, they needed that one though. Kiruo eliminated. Now Trexer sent into a little bit of a panic here. This duo just continues trying to see what else they can gather. That's certainly going to help them in the surge department. And the 3 med kits to boot, because with Trexer and Kiruo having stuck around for so long, surely they had to have some form of white heals to be playing Storm in the first place.
It's good to see the patience paying off for them, though.
Like this one, though. Multiple teams taking advantage of the healing from the cube. Machek and Pahawa, though, they're going to move off of Sandy's strip. Try to get some tags in along the way, but not going to net anything just yet. Still fully aware of the fact that there are going to be other teams kind of trailing behind them, so still got to be cautious with how you move into zone.
Pixie and Swizzy. They've been the most consistent team on the day that hasn't been able to pick up a win. And they looked in a good position to do it last game, but unfortunately, Cantry had something to say about that. But without him in the lobby, maybe, just maybe, this will be the game where they finally secure their position in the major finals.
Probably multiple teams, at least in this heat, hoping that they find a victory royale, because all that means is a trickle-down effect, right? You have another team that's potentially pushed into that consistency placement quals potential, and that could be a huge difference maker here. for that Major 1 Finals lobby. But the other benefit that Swizzy and Pixie had is just knowing that they've got enough points that even if they do get eliminated earlier than they would like to, I don't think that they're really at threat of losing their current position for quality.
Yeah, no, these guys are safe. They're going to qualify regardless of what happens. And so we'll see just how much of a spoiler they play to the rest of the lobby. We've seen some teams do that already. Cough, cough, heat one. And so let's see how much drama these guys can cause with how they choose to play the rest of these games. Down below on Surge though, so we're bigging them up. They do have to put in some effort into this game if they want to stay in it for much longer.
Asking shall receive, Pixie, Swizzy, wasting no time. Getting some good tags in, but it's still, well, the Surge is definitely jumping for them as the rest of the lobby also continues to build on their net Surge, but Seti and Rax, they're starting to get a bit desperate here now. Shields fully down now for Seti. Rax is soon to follow. They can't get some more shots going. Surge is going to take them out before they even get a real fighting chance in this lobby. Seti just trying to chase down Specs. Miru's looking to just keep charging forward. Wants to get away from this lobby. They can smell the desperation clinging to Seti and Rax as they continue chasing this one out. But Specs, he's incredibly low too. Rax, Seti, this might be their best chance to go for the refresh. They're going to need some Siphon to come into play here if they want to keep charging through this one. And Rax, Seti, they'll find one. Can they get the other? Because Rax, he still can't afford to take these ticks in Storm, and he's not going to be able to work his way into zone. Seti with the Siphon will be fine, but now he's left as a solo.
This is going to be tough. He needs to squeeze more points out of this game, but it's just not going to be an easy one. And now there's a player in his box. That is it for Seti and Rax. If you want to see them in the major finals, they're going to have to win game number 5. But let's see who wins game number 4 here. A fight for the pad up on the top of the mountain peak between Wox and Gonzo. Pixie and Swizzy on the other side of the zone, planning their rotation. In a good spot to take it though as well. They have the elevation advantage. Wox loses Vanya in this exchange at the top of the mountain for the launch pad. So we've seen Vanya clutch to the attacker. We're going to have to see Wox do it now.
Wox is certainly capable of doing just that, but first wants to see if he can try and pinpoint some damage to just be able to focus exclusively on where he wants to send himself with this overdrive grenade. So far, no one's really revealed enough of themselves to really provide Wox an ample opportunity, but now Jewel, shot's just not going to hit though, and one more time, the Surge threshold just continues to climb a little bit further out of reach here. Up and down, though. Some shots will connect there for Wox on these later rotating duos. Shumich not going to be able to survive, and that is a great time for the knock to come through here for Wox. But, of course, he can't afford to go for that body loot anytime soon. He's just going to choose to stay in this elevated position. As a solo, decent amount of material. Now, climbing his way through that Surge threshold, there is some serious opportunity here to clutch things out.
It's not a bad spot to be in whatsoever. An update on Swizzy and Pixie. How are they playing in this lobby? Up against Dandapuzo, they take him down. And again, the aggression from these two is what we want to see. Maybe a peek into how they'll be playing in next weekend's final lobbies. Big game for Savage and Velo though, Taka.
There's some teams that are very injured directly underneath them. Velo, Savage, they can smell it. They want to go entirely for those finishes, but they're not going to be able to claim them just yet. They'll have to pull back. They don't want to forfeit the secondary height position. Whether or not they know that it's Wox as a solo just above them, doesn't matter. They're looking to just try and stay moving with the zones. But Dora tried to go aggressive onto Savage there. Unfortunately, Savage and Velo are going to be able to turn that one around. That might also give them a further extension in this game. Now looking healthy on that Surge threshold, but the materials, they're going to need more. They've got some heals to work with, handful of splashes, but now stuck at the backside of zone, teams that have already made their way in. That slight hiccup dealing with Dora has caused them to just be a little bit behind the pack. They have to conceal themselves a little bit better and also be fully aware of so many teams ahead of them just lurking on these walls.
See Fury and Zuma up top, looking comfy, but for how much longer? That will be the question. There will be teams in this lobby that look to take it from them. Swizzy and Pixie, Their job is not finished. They will continue their ascension towards the top of the standings. Pixie gets caught in a box, and so that leaves Swizzy fighting alone.
Solid scenes though for Reason and Noah Riley. They're gonna head straight towards that low side, front side of the zone. Forge and Nagi a little bit caught up right now with Fury and Zoomer, but same time here, this might be exactly what Nagi and Forge were after, because they've managed to overtake height. They don't have a whole lot of materials, but it might not matter with the way that the zone is pulling. They're just gonna choose to continue ascending upwards. They've got the front side position, and they're looking to just try and suppress everyone else. Gonzo still sticking towards that lowest tier, but Noah Riley and Reason could really play a lot of the low ground here. They've got so much material, they're just gonna keep claiming some space, but Reason, I think his intentions might be to go up.
I don't blame him. You know, that's where he wants to be. It might be too high for him to keep climbing though, just enough to get up on some elevation. Forg, Nagi, oh dearie me, Forg will take some fall damage. And they will look up now for height and see nobody there. Nagi in the storm.
He can't get down.
Maybe he might have the element of surprise here, Taco.
Problem is, whoever he drops on is likely going to be able to scout him out. Fortunately, the materials are going to be enough, but it's Gonzo who gets ruined in the process. Nagi needed that shot. He needed the siphon, but he's still trying to play from inside the storm. He's got to catch up with Munchak. Got to be another one. Nagi is just fully locking in. Despite Forge's slip-up, it doesn't matter. Nagi is not deterred. He knows just how much they need every single one of these placement points. Noah Riley, Reason, they're not looking to meet the same fate, though. They've now comfortably taken over the high ground, and Nagi, his run might be cut short here.
There are two players that the fans in Dusseldorf will want to see winning games, and that is Noah Riley and Reason, and this just might be their chance to secure a spot to do it. Noah and Reason up in the skies looking to shock their opponents into the storm. We've seen big clutches already in this tournament, but will this just be the classic height win from Reason and Noah? How many years of competitive Fortnite have we seen them do this? Too many. Noah and Reason will be playing in our major finals. That is what the fans wanted to see, Taco.
And they were looking so solid throughout the course of the lobbies earlier here today, Levin. So to see them finally bring one home, that's got to be a huge celebration coming through for Reason and Noah Riley. But Frankie, what do y'all have to say?
That was as smooth peanut butter mini miner. I feel like we called that win probably in the 10th zone.
Yeah, we did. It was just frenzy up on height. It just seemed like everyone was trying to go for it, chopping down, so many players trying to take it. And at that point in the competition, everyone's trying to go for it. Some of the teams that are further on down to Carter, they need a win, so they try and go up and just do anything that it takes to get there. But sometimes it just takes that experience. It takes that that level of patience, I suppose, from a team and two players that have played for such a long time at the top level, just to know it's all right. We'll play our maps, we'll try and find some refreshes on mid-ground, and then take the height later on down the line to win the game.
Yeah, this does really put a smile on my face. We talked about it earlier, but I mean, back in 2024 duos when Reason was playing with Fadil, they were the best duo. They were getting top 5 in all the majors. They were looking incredibly strong. Trios just didn't quite go their way, and once the season started, Reason couldn't find that duo that he worked well with, even trying to play with Fadil. Now ended up with Noah after switching countless times, and we weren't really sure how it was gonna go. Both the players have the experience, but just in terms of season performance, it wasn't quite living up to our expectations or more what we wanted to see from each of these players. And now they have done it. They have got themselves a slot in the major finals. This is what you love to see.
There are 11 more spots in those finals up for grabs and one more game to go. So let's head to a break. And when we come back, we'll be getting things ready for game 5.
Taking from me, this one right here is only too fast. Oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all. But you want it all. Said you want it all. I'm bounce back. Said you want it all. But you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I'll move to the floor. I just got that goal. I'm bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'll keep it. I'll keep bouncing. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back.
A flawless endgame for Noah Riley and Reason before the break saw them take the 4th victory royale of the day, and they've qualified for the Major 1 finals. There's one more victory royale up for grabs, and then 10 places based on consistency. So let's take a look at the standings and see who is still in contention and who really needs to up their game and potentially hit that #1 spot in our final game of the day. Where would you like to start, though, Takata? Because I know that everything can change here as we go into Game 5, because it did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is on. As a reminder, despite 10 duos qualifying through consistency, it doesn't mean it's top 10 on the leaderboard. It's actually top 15, including the duos that qualified through the VR. So if we look at that 15th place, the current cutoff is 101 points. Now, mind you, yesterday, the cutoff going into the last match was 96 points, and it ended at 143. It was consistently going up throughout the day, but for some reason, that last match had a big gap for that cutoff, a big range in terms of how many points changed. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but even the players in the top 10, especially the players down here in this section of the leaderboard, the pressure is definitely on.
So what you're saying then, Takata, is Vanya and Wox, they might be within contention at the moment, but they're absolutely not safe, because Vico and Malabuka, we thought they were safe. We thought they were a sure thing for the Major 1 finals based on consistency, and it turned out after Game 5 they were not.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and they've been getting some pretty good zones too, but there's always, I don't know if it's little mistakes or what's going on, but I've seen Wox play as solo, Vanya play as solo. They're getting to these end games, but there was only one match where I saw them fully kitted up to actually play it out. They're kind of doing pretty good performances, but we have yet to see that big match from them.
Yeah, one of them just keeps going down, don't they? And it's just not what you need in these sort of lobbies. You'd expect both of them to have those individual firepower in order to get through those lobbies, but the game that you were talking about there, Takata, when they were up on height, they were set up for success. I think the zone pulled really far away, so they couldn't continue to play height. That was the game I thought they were going to win, but ended up being 9th. It's just not, they haven't quite been able to get the ball rolling today, and they need to do it right now in the last game.
You know who else really needs to do it? It's actually Seti. And it's Rax. If you missed the start of the show, I did say there was a Frankie Ward guarantee, which is Seti and Rax would definitely qualify at some point today. So let's take a look at the leaderboard to see where they are, because I did say that I would eat the post-it note with the guarantee on if they did not qualify, at least through consistency. They're not going to qualify through consistency because they're not even on the first 2 pages, boys. I need them to get a victory royale, but let's face it, it's not looking too great for them right now. And actually, you can see highlighted there, Mr. Savage and Velo. Things have been slightly looking up for them. They've managed to get off spawn in later games, mini minor. Things could change for them, but based on the performance so far, do you think they can really make the leap they need?
It's tough. It's going to be tough. They're going to need to do something magical here. I mean, this was a moment here in this end game where I saw Velo start to lead, and you could see them trying to come out of this box right here and get beamed by the whole lobby, and that's where Savage had to take over and say, right, I need to lead up here. They're going to drop, and they ended up dropping all the way down low to try and navigate through that end game. That rotation right there was the key moment where they went down, though. They were just too late to get to the next zone and ended up getting looked at by so many people. So they're going to need a really clean end game. What was that, 23rd? They haven't had too great of a performance. There's only one top 10 today.
The issue is the one game they kind of finally got off spawn at a pretty decent momentum. They got 8th place. He did qualify through a win. Ghost, it was game 3, but we're past that. There is one match left. So, I mean, hopefully, if they qualify, it has to be through a win. Like you said, 45th place. They've got 20 points. Consistency is not going to be the route that this duo has to take.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, even off spawn there, they were kind of a little bit more scared to fight off spawn, which is not what you'd associate with Tayson. And now maybe he's regretting the decision to play with someone new and upcoming. Maybe Ghost is regretting the decision to play with someone a bit more experienced. It's going to be interesting to see if they even stick together for last chance.
Literally, production is trolling me. They found Seti and Rax 36th position on the leaderboard. They went down 4 places in that last game mini minor.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, the performances haven't been great. They've had 3 22nd places today, and it just seems like that disjointed nature hasn't really fixed itself. It's something that we spoke about earlier on in the day. They haven't been winning those fights. They haven't been staying together as a duo. It's always been a bit of a rescue mission in every single one of their games to casters. So looking pretty rough for this duo right now, and of course they're far away, so they're going to need a win.
Who is going to take the win, though, guys? Is there anyone based on their performance in this lobby so far you're thinking, yeah, they've actually got the guaranteed win on this one? As someone maybe outside of consistency, mini minor, who do you think wants it most?
I want to see Savage do it. I want to see Savage, you know, I think the fans want to see Savage do it. If it's going to be a Savage thing to do, it's the very last thing that he does, which is qualify through. And can I just say as well, of course, where Seti is right now, based on their components, standard post-it notes likely taste like dry paper with a faint or slightly bitter synthetic taste from the adhesive. So we'll see if that's true.
Oh,
Jeez,
do I have to eat the
mini
entire...
minor.
Do I have to eat the entire thing? That's the question. If they get up to page 2, maybe I only have to eat just a tiny corner. We'll let Levin and Taco call it. What do I have to do? Just be kind to me, boys and girls.
I think you need to have the broadcast team and Epic wipe everyone's memories of that moment having ever taken place on the broadcast. I don't know if we can get like a wipe of the memory here, but if anything, I guess you could say that Seti and Rax are doing it for everyone else's entertainment, Frankie. I don't know, Levin, what do you think about that?
I want to see those guys call. I don't want to see them miss it, but I also want to see Frankie scoff the whole thing down and just, you know, make us laugh for eternity. So look, we had one of the best broadcast segments we've ever had yesterday with Kelly on NA. We might get the second best ever if this happens now with Frankie. So fingers crossed. Hey, look, big game coming up. It's all on the cards. I think everybody now realizes the urgency, the severity of the situation. You cannot let this moment pass you by. You have to make this your game. And there's a lot of different names I'm looking at on this leaderboard right now, Taco, who they're gonna be fighting, you know, tooth and nail to try and make it happen.
Yeah, I'm expecting things to get kind of ugly out there, Levin, because even when you factor in top 23, it's all way too close for comfort, but we don't have to wonder. We'll get to see exactly what happens. Game 5 underway.
This is it. Game number 5 of Heat 2 is upon us, and it is now time for everybody in this lobby who was allowed the previous 4 games to pass them by to change their destiny. The off-spawn battles have been gruesome. They've been tough. And we will see the conclusion of this story at Squibbly Shores take place. Tayson, Ghost, finally outdropping Xterry. But will it even matter with them getting beamed up from every which way?
They don't even get the chance. Even though Xterry is just hanging on by a thread here, Ghost and Tayson are not able to fully capitalize just yet. I think part of this, Levin, is just the repercussions of this off-spawn having gone so heavily against Tayson and Ghost's favor early on that teams elsewhere have just been drawn to the fact, and now they want their own piece of the pie. We already saw the influence it had in the last lobby, and yet again, Tayson, Ghost have an incredibly difficult uphill battle. It is win or last chance qualifier that they're staring down the barrel of.
Yeah, I mean, again, the reality is many people want to see it, right? You want to see it because we're big fans of these players and their history and all the amazing moments they've shown us. But the reality is, Taco, is they haven't showcased any ability today to be able to inspire that level of confidence. And so at the end of the day, it is a hope, a dream, a wish, a prayer, whatever you want to say it is, that is going to have to come through right now if we're to see some of our favorite names make it.
Doesn't help either for a team like Frenex. When you're sitting at 68 points, sure, 100 might look out of reach, but realistically, one good lobby could be the difference. But Frenex brings Polish so incredibly low. Thankfully, his duo able to back him up, so they will keep the ball rolling here in this final match of the day at Painted Palms. Things just a little bit too dicey. You can definitely start to see some of the discomfort and just the overall nerves beginning to reapply themselves, because teams are recognizing the fact that this is their last opportunity to try and avoid the last chance qualifier.
Ice in your veins. That's what you need here. You can't be nervous. The moment can't be too big for you to handle. We're going to see a Fizz shock play right happen. And they will actually catch them out. Collapsy, that is beautiful.
They needed that, that's for sure. Killed. Just trying to see if they can keep gathering that momentum. With Clapsy being so healthy, though, it'll be very easy for him to now take over the aggressive front. Jax, though, getting to benefit just a little bit off of that Flowberry grenade. Slightly unfortunate, but still not going to prevent Clapsy from finding yet another 50 chunk out of that shield. Killed. Now completely healthy, back to 200. Willing, just try and dive back in. His duo's already finished the sequence of events, though, and Clapsy with 2 solid eliminations here.
Yeah, and the reality is that's 2 teams that are trying to fight their way in. A replay of this one here, look at that. Knew exactly which way he was going to exit the box and had the piece ready. Ghost and Tayson forcing the issue here a bit, getting a bit aggressive. I say that as they disengage, but they have one, which is inspiring. They're going to need many more though, Taco, if they don't get the win.
And earlier today, you know, I'd asked you, hey, game 1 definitely didn't go in their favor. Do you stick to the plan, or you know, at this point, do you begin to start to try and reevaluate? And I do feel like they are at a point here where they don't necessarily need to abandon everything that they've been practicing leading up to this secondary heats. It's just a lot to contend with.
Nah, rip it up. Whatever the plan was, rip it up. Put it in the shredder. Get rid. You have to trust your instincts now. I think when you look at Tayson as a player, his biggest success, the best era of his career, what was his biggest advantage over people was his instincts, his intuition on the game. And we're going to have to hope he can rely on those here in this final game to carry them through with the talent of a Ghost, the young Greek fragger who, again, has showed promise. But on this stage, the biggest stage he might have been on thus far, you will have to deliver for Tayson.
We can see so many teams just caught in these awkward engagements, teams that are sitting right around that halfway point where they haven't been quite consistent enough throughout the course of today's games to put themselves safely into that top 10 consistency placement section. But Misha and Kora are also just looking to shut down the dreams here right now for Uppal and Kiro. They get a big exchange. Uppal, fortunately, gonna have to be brought back in. Kora trying to see if he can pick up the pieces here now, and Kora will pick up Kira, but Misha still looking, still hanging on. Uppal and Misha are both just so incredibly low, but it doesn't matter because you've got Kora able to close it out. But now Sadie and Druxies, this day has basically left them in a position where it's win or nothing. And they are full on ruining the dreams right now for both of these duos. But Kora and Misha, they're not willing to give it up just yet.
Yeah, the thing with these fights is as they draw out, you want to maintain control, you want to make sure you have exits. And when you're fighting from a couple tiles away like Druxies is here, you want to make sure you're keeping any angle advantages.
Still just haven't been able to really draw in fully onto where Misha and Cora are at, and I feel that this has kind of just fizzled out now for Sadie and Druxies, but they're still willing to give a little bit of chase. They know that they're going to need a big showing if they want this day to not result in just a last chance qualifier appearance. But for Misha and Cora, this could also be the moment that is able to essentially jumpstart their ability to make a really solid endgame finish, because good placements, good eliminations, but that's not going to be the case here. Sadie will find Cora, and Druxies on the other side cuts off Misha. So that will be the conclusion to their Major 1 finals for the time being. It's all up to the last chance qualifier now in that duo.
That's going to be something we say for a lot of the different teams as this game continues to tick on. Druxies and Sadie trying to make sure that we're not saying it about them. It won't be easy. With Dora and Extracito knocking on the door. They're running out of whites. Dora gonna need something soon.
Gonna need some of
got
that.
plenty to work with.
Maybe the pizza. This is... Well, we saw one Spanish team with success earlier today. Extracito and Dora. They might be able to turn this in their favor. That's a really nice shot to connect, but Extracito doesn't see it coming from the other direction. And now that pizza will come into play, but Sadie is absolutely shutting teams down here. Extracito still trying to look if they can slide around. A lot of wiggly movement here. It's making things difficult for Druxies and Sadie, but having lost your duo, that is a big blow.
That's the problem when you're trying to take fights in the storm and your only whites is pizza, right? For you to use it, you're gonna have to drop it down. Ideally, you know, it's gonna be in a moment where you have a bit more time and space to work with, but the flow of these fights just doesn't go that way, right? You're gonna take a big shot, you're gonna need your teammate to regroup with you. That allows the other team to come in and just pressure your walls, and that's exactly what happened there. It's not as free-flowing as maybe if you're working with splashes or something else, right? To sort of dance around with.
I feel like this exchange has also just gone on a little bit too long here for Druxies and Sadie. They will finally be able to close it out once and for all. They are the final duo left standing here at 4 Fields. 4 eliminations as well. But with how much time they just spent now having to make their way into zone. Granted, their net surge is probably looking pretty solid, but on that same note, you still have to push past teams that are just going to be settled in much better positions in comparison to a duo arriving so late.
These guys are trying to set themselves up early. Set A-Racks, big game on the line here. Not just for them, but also for Frankie, watching in the back. This is why we just shouldn't let anyone give out their guarantees, Taco. You know, save that for the experts.
You know, it's tough though, right? Right, Levin? They can't all be 2K guarantees, you know what I mean?
They can't, clearly not.
Just...
But look, one thing we can say for certain is that there will be a lot of people rooting for them, and rightfully so. So much talent, so much experience on those two teams, on those two players, sorry. And it would be a shame, but we mentioned it. Well, you specifically mentioned it, Taco, right? That list of teams that have to call through last chance is getting spooky. And if they were to be added to it, it would just make that last chance qualifier that much more entertaining.
It's just the last place I'd want to be right now. Because it's not even about just making it to the last chance qualifier. You have to make it into the last chance qualifier finals too. And when there are so many strong contenders just already being factored into that from heats alone, on top of the ones that just weren't even in heats to begin with, again, it does become a little bit daunting. And I do feel for the players that have to kind of make their way forward through that option, but Mr. Savage and Velo, they're certainly a duo that is trying to avoid that at all costs, and they are within striking range. I mean, 73 points heading into this 5th lobby, 23rd position, but when you look at where 15th was at in the cutoff being 101 points, they are very realistically in the range to take over, but it is going to come down to these two needing to have a very strong performance. It can't just be an 8th place finish of 4 eliminations. They need more.
Yeah, they're gonna have to really pull out one of their best performances individually. And really, we've been saying it, but we keep saying it because it is the reality. There's just a lot of teams who it's just got to be a win. And as the zones get closer and closer, smaller and smaller, the space for people to set up to do just that becomes so much more difficult. It's good to see the position Tayson and Ghost are in, right? This is the best position we've seen them in all day long. And so hopefully that can convert into something more significant than what we've seen them produce in previous rounds. Heshka and Cole, again, a team that early on in the day, you know, had some inspiring moments, but ultimately went quiet.
If there was ever a time for them to start making some noise, it is now, because they are also another one of those teams just kind of being factored in to being able to leapfrog some of the other competition inside of that top 10 for the consistency placements. We also saw some sparks of life from the Mont Blancs. That one game they went for height, but aside from that, it just looks like the day has really been rather solid. It's been decent, but they are very clearly still trying to see if they can captivate a little bit more.
Absolutely. Louis and Rigby, two players who, again, don't necessarily have a wealth of experience by any means, but have definitely showcased some promise. Like you said, game 2 when they were up there on height, it definitely felt like they were a team that maybe would make waves today. And while they hold on to a qualification spot at the moment, they will need to make sure this game continues to add to their tally.
I think the main thing too is that so many teams, I mean, everybody noticed what happened with Biko and Malabuka, that early departure just being the separating factor. It's all about just making it into the placements. That's truly where things can begin to kind of shift, because so long as you get some points from where they are at, that could be all the difference. Swizzy, yeah, with that knock onto Vanya, it's pretty tough here, but Louis, Rigby, very difficult when you're looking at two teams that are just so close together and so in need of a solid final finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be very tough. Very, very tough. We obviously saw yesterday Biko and Malabuka in a spot that looked maybe safe to qualify, and then they go down in the final game and they miss out by just one position. You'd hate to see that happen again for Vanya and Woxt in a similar spot. So we'll see if they can cling on to their position right now.
Always a little bit of a nail biter involved with these types of tournament formats. That's just the nature of the game. Strapped in, Jewel, 24 below, currently on the damage threshold. Lurking, crouching, waiting to see. But they might not have time on their side. They're gonna need to start getting active. Fortunately, they don't have to go full-on desperation measures jumping into somebody's box just yet, but getting these tags and seeing that it's SETI on the receiving end. But that's exactly what Strapped and Jewel needed. SETI and Rax, though, they're gonna have to try and play for the recovery here. They're losing so much HP on that rotate.
Oh no. Almost running into the wrong box there, Jewel. And unfortunately, it's going to cost him either way. He gets shot in the back. We'll group up with Straps, but they have spent so much of their resources and utility to get to this position, and it's not necessarily even the best one they could be in. What's going on? Oh my goodness, Khan. highlights don't stop for them, even in this final game.
Mr. Savage, Velo, just trying to make it forward, but Savage has fallen. It's all down to Velo. Fury just doing what he can. Velo needs to connect with the shots. A little bit of shakiness there, but he holds strong, at least for right now. 180 on the Chug Jug, 4 splashes. A mythic AR, but Velo, he's got the whole world in front of him. And he's trying to crack it wide open, but on the front side of zone, there are just so many other teams that he has to contend with. Zeddy and Rax down in the low ground, front side. Ifrozi will be taken down, but they need to get the finish. They need to get the materials. Azak gonna be able to cut them off just a little bit, cause some slight delay here. Zeddy and Rax, they are just not healthy. And with Surge ticks now, tipping away at their HP bars. Rax and Zeddy, they're trying to make a move, but they need an elimination. They've got to just go against Azat. But Azat's just not giving them the opportunity. He's just holding them at bay. He can tell that they're injured. He can tell that they need this more than him. Even without his duo, he's still willing to just force Zeddy and Rax now to push off here. And so many of these teams, Levin, it's just starting to fall apart.
How many of these players right now are just holding on to a thread? Their dreams of the FNCS final slipping through their fingers. Seti falls, and Rax now has the weight of the world on his shoulders. With just 9 builds and no shields, stuck in the zone. He can't even get out of the zone. He's trying to break a tree. The medkit pop will keep him alive, but not for long enough. They will be bound to the LCQ. And he's not the only one left. Velo trying to keep the Mr. Savage dream alive. Trexa and Kido are up on height. They need a big game. And they have a lot of hungry players beneath them that are looking to clutch up now.
But this is Velo's opportunity to cement himself as more than just an up-and-comer. These are the moments that can really determine the future is here, but Velo, he can't get away. He's trapped inside the box, and it is over now. Savage and Velo will have to see things out in the last chance qualifier. And for the rest of this lobby, Ghost. Also, another one of our teams just kind of hanging about here. Trexer and Kiruo, they know that they need this win if they want to avoid the last chance qualifiers. But Trexer, Kiruo, can they apply enough pressure? Azat also still hanging on despite having lost Ifrozi earlier on. But Tayson and Ghost, even though they might not have a strong material count, this is still the best that we have seen them yet here today, Levin. They've got some heals to work with, but they've caught the attention of the high ground. They're trying to see if they can chop it out, and sure enough, Trexer are going to be sent tumbling down.
They're going for the gambit. They don't need the materials. They know they just need to take their opponents out. They know what they need, and it is a win. Going for everything right now, Tayson and Ghost. This is what legends are made of. Up above. Can they continue to close this lobby out? So many players still left. So many in the zone trying to find a way to stay in the game. Kaduo in the backside might just look for revenge against them. He will chop it. They will fall. Kaduo will rise, but not before falling on the front side. Tayson and Ghost still have an opportunity to regain the height.
And Kiduo also eliminated for his troubles there, but now Tayson, Ghost, they're trying to see whether or not they can actually maintain height for the duration of this lobby. Nagi underneath, scrambling, so many players getting caught. The pressure just overwhelming though, and Nagi will fall. Ghost, Tayson, they might just be able to do it here. This is everything for Tayson's legacy as a player, as an individual, and Ghost right alongside him, building up. Fernek and Dinas, the only two that remain. The Poles trying to see if they can also bring themselves into that Major 1 finals. But Tayson and Ghost, they refuse to let go. Even with only 8 builds remaining, it's just Fernek and Dinas that they have to contend with, where it's removed from the low ground. A chop comes through. Doncic still pushing through though. Tayson, he just needs to find the shots. Can Ghost make it happen? But Fernek overtaking the high ground. Tayson's been taken out. It's all up to the Bulls to close this this one now. Ghost might have something to say though, and he can't get the shots. Frenek and Dean is just stealing away the hopes right now for Tayson and Ghost. A heartbreaking scene, Levin, but at the same time, the polls just delivered.
These guys have shown throughout the day that they had what it takes to be a team that can play in the major finals, and big moments require big players, and that is what they have shown here. Frankie, break it all down. These guys deserve their spot.
That was an absolutely crazy endgame with pitch perfect commentary by the fabulous Levin and Taco. My word, the cinema we have seen today to Carter, and I couldn't be more happy for Dinas and Frenek.
I am speechless. I truly am. I was not sure which way it was going to go because both of the duos in those final moments needed this win to qualify themselves to the major finals. Frenek with those last pumps connecting is what solidified that golden ticket. Throughout the day, 48th, 43rd, 21st, it was just not going their way. In the second to last match, they did get a 9th, and now with the win, have made it to the finals.
I mean, when I was watching that, you just think, yeah, Tayson, it's the story, it's the classic. You knew he's going to do it right. Last game, hadn't had a good day, hadn't had a look at the top 10 all day, and then just turns up in the last game. But he just got foiled there at the end. I think it was a big shot from Frenek that shut him down, just opened up the door. And it looked as though that it kind of worked out for Tayson's team. They didn't have those extra materials, so the zone pulls back over the old builds. You think, right, they might have a chance right here because, of course, they don't have the builds. But these guys just turned it around so quickly. Dinas and Frenek, I mean, they're a team that we haven't seen loads of today, but that's what this format can do. It can soar you all the way up, and this was what I was talking about here. The shot from Frenek to drop down onto Tayson to hit that first shot. And Ghost has so much to do, but he couldn't end up doing it. But big ups to these guys, the qualifying 3.
I mean, what a fantastic game 5 to wrap things up in Heat 2. With Tayson and Ghost able to perform like that under pressure, I think they've got some good chances in that last chance qualifier on Tuesday mini minor, because there are going to be 5 games. There's 5 spots still up for grabs. Hopefully, though, they're not going to leave it until the last game.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully they get there, of course. Hopefully they qualify through. Hopefully they stick together as well, because, of course, sometimes you do get some team switches, especially when they are newer players coming in. Maybe Tayson's having questions. Maybe Ghost is having questions right now, because I know Ghost even played with a different teammate for the first Divisional Cup this season. So I hope they do stick together. I hope they work through some of those mistakes. A lot of off-spawn troubles for them, really, when you look at their day as a whole. And it just all culminated into this performance at the end where you thought it was going to happen for them, but it was just too little too late to Carter.
Yeah, I mean, even leading up to this, you know, their expectations weren't at an all-time high, and it was a difficult drop being contested not only on their spot, but from the west side as well. They finally were able to make it to an end game. They did not disappoint in that end game until the final moments where they weren't able to close it out. So, you know, I'm hoping that we see more of them in Last Chance. I mean, you can see how confident they were playing from height. When you talk about experience, I mean, Tayson, one of the GOATs of EU, competitive now in a bit of a rough patch. It's all going to be up to the Last Chance qualifier for this team if they end up playing together, Mini.
He'll be back. Tayson will be back. I talked about it at the beginning of the day. Had a bit of a rough patch in duos. Had those random run of 15th places that, you know, 3 or 4 or something in a row, and bounced back from it in trios. So hopefully he can do that on a more smaller scale now and bounce back in the next few days, because that's when they're going to be playing next. So a quick turnaround for them, but I'm sure they'll do it.
The thing that's interesting about this, I think, is maybe if it was Major 1 last year, maybe they wouldn't be looking to change duos for the Last Chance qualifier. I mean, you've got so little time, but also there's another couple of majors to qualify for global championships. But 20 spots for EU are on the line for Major Summit 1. Everyone wants to go to Dusseldorf on the 30th and 31st of May. You can't get there if you don't qualify for the Grand Finals next weekend. Let's take a look, though, at who has qualified. Starting with our Victory Royale winners, let's just remind ourselves, Cheaton and Janez getting it done in 1 at the start of the day. We've got our Spanish duo, Takata. You were celebrating them taking it in game 2.
That I was. Scary and Syaz, they got the job done. Also, we have more very big names that made it through. I'm excited to see how Reason and Noah perform. I mean, Reason being a German legend, hopefully going to have the shot to play in Germany later this year at the Summit, but they still have to get the job done in the major finals.
Every crowd on LAN loves him, so imagine him in front of his hometown. Actually, I don't know which city he's from. His home country crowd, I should say. Now, let's take a look then at the 10 duos who've qualified through consistency. And there you have it. Kantri and Ju, it's not a... Oh, hang on a second. I apologize. We're looking at the standings. I'm so sorry. So let's actually look at Swizzy and Pixie. It was inevitable in 6th position, and then let's cast our eyes down. Who made it across the line? And there you can see in 18th position, Vanya and Wox did not mini minor.
I mean, this last chance qualifier is looking stacked. I don't even think there's 5 big name teams. Like, there's too many big name teams to qualify through those 5-game wins. Like, there will inevitably mathematically be an upset in these last chance qualifiers. And even talking about like switching up teammates, usually when you do get into the last chance qualifiers, the pool of names of which you might want to switch with, it's not that strong. It's not that talented maybe because all the big teams have already qualified through. But there's so many big names to cast here that are yet to qualify through. So it's going to be an absolute banger. And we're only in Heat 2 here. We still got Heat 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, it will. Look, I also want to shout out Dandy Puzo and Werix. They went up 11 places, putting themselves in qualifying range through consistency. We saw them in the first match of the day. They got 2nd place. They were just outside of getting that victory royale to qualify. But then after that, 30th, 28th, it was all downhill for them. It was looking like they weren't even going to make it, but they got 3rd place in this last game, jumped up on the leaderboard, and did make it in through consistency. So shout out to them.
Can we also just quickly give props as well to Rigby and Louis, the Mont Blanc boys? We did a little bit of research, a bit of Googling. It turns out they seem to be from the UK, mini minor.
Yeah, from the UK. Also never made a major final.